Elliot won't be joining us tonight.
Okay, thanks, Erin.
Who are we waiting for? Dr. Hay.
Shauna, and I think we lost Ron, but
Oh, we did lose one.
We did. What happened?
he was here
You're
a
so
minute
close.
ago. Here he comes.
Coming back. Okay.
Ron, are you with us?
We missed you, Ron.
I'm trying to get, there's some Zoom screen that's taking up a third of my screen. I don't know how to get rid of it, but whatever.
Well, it's 7 o'clock and we have a quorum, so I'd like to call the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting of Thursday, March 3rd, 2022 to order. Erin, I'm going to shuffle the usual notes just a bit. The meeting is live streamed on YouTube and will be made available on the town website for viewing. Seated this evening, we have Giselle McDowell, John Mathers, Shona Hay, Peter Roos, Ron Bodenson, and myself, Carol Snow. Absent is Elliot Hitchcock. Staff present this evening is Erin Mannix, town planner. And Erin, could you go ahead and read the legal notice?
Sure. One second, Carol.
Sure, sorry, I caught you off guard.
Notice is hereby given that the Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing on Thursday, March 3rd, 2022 at 7 p.m. The meeting will be conducted remotely as a Zoom online webinar. Attendees may join the webinar through either the webinar link or call-in information. Webinar ID is 915-8196-6735, password 452138. The following applications will be heard. 22-01 544 Opening Hill Road, map 116, lot 1, zone RU1. Owner applicant Timothy Mack, application for a 2-lot re-subdivision. Further details on how to participate in the webinar are posted on the Town of Madison website. Copies of these applications are available for inspection in the Land Use Office. All written correspondence shall be submitted to the Land Use Office at landuse@madisonct.org. Dial 203-245-5631 for assistance. Dated at Madison, Connecticut, this 9th day of February, 2022. Carol Snow, Chair. The legal notice ran once in the source on Thursday, February 17th, and once on Thursday, February 24th.
Thank you, Erin. The first item on our agenda is a public hearing, as Erin mentioned, 22-01 for 544 Opening Hill Road. Because it's being continued at our next meeting on March 17th, what we're going to do is I'm going to ask for a motion to open the public hearing, and then immediately we'll ask for another motion to continue it to March 17th. So could I have a motion to open the public hearing? Shona, thank you.
Sure, I move to open the public hearing.
And a second from Peter Roos, thank you. All in favor? Okay, great, thanks. And because this is being moved to the March 17th meeting, we're going to immediately move to continue it to that meeting. So could I have a motion to continue this public hearing to March 17th, 2022?
I will also move to continue the public hearing till March 17th, 2022.
You and a second? Peter, thank you. All in favor? Great. Okay, so we'll go ahead then and start our regular meeting. And we've received a request from Keith Nielsen, who will be representing 22-3109 Hartford Avenue, that he present first, as he has another commitment with another municipality, and so he needs to jump off as soon as he can. The other applicant on our for our regular meeting is actually the town of Madison, so we didn't think there would be any problem, but could I have a motion then that we restructure our agenda just slightly and hear from 109 Hartford Avenue first?
Yeah, so moved.
Thank you, John. And a second.
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 And everyone okay with that? Great. Okay. So I think we can move right along then at 7:05 to 22-30 109 Hartford Avenue. Do we have participants here?
Yes, Keith is here.
Great.
Can you hear us, Keith? You're muted.
I think you're muted.
Sorry. Is that better?
You're breaking up a little bit.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Thank you and welcome.
The application before tonight is for Amy Cohen and Sid Levinson, who live at 109 Hartford Road in Madison. Their home is located on a bluff on Long Island Sound. They have a beachfront location, and the property has been subject to damage in several recent storms, including the one as recently as January 17th, and last year in summer in August. And so they wanted to try and restore the damaged wall that they have at their property and the damaged bank. It's a tough location in terms of wave and wind damage, and it's subject to sea spray in breaking wave conditions. We started the coastal site plan process several months ago and submitted application documents just before Christmas, and went through the 35-day review of the EP. And the first response to the project was that there was not enough justification for the work. And so they issued a letter recommending against approval of the project. So we had a meeting at the site back in February, early in February on the 3rd, and had asked the DP to meet their engineer so that we could talk about the wave forces, wave dynamics and such. And we did that, and it was a good meeting. And the DEP was concerned that we had overprotected the bluff. And despite my pleading that we're not accustomed to designing things that will continue to erode. We try to make sure that the bluff will be protected and preserved and planted and so on, but they said that we had too much armor on it. So we reached an agreement on the February 3rd meeting as to the location of the wall, the height of the wall, the slope of the bank going back to the house, and or I should have one, and the extent of vegetation that would be incorporated into the reinforced bank. And so the drawings that you have before you tonight are basically a culmination of all of those discussions. The first sheet shows the location of the
I
property.
don't see anything. Is there, are you going to put something up?
Excuse me, Ron. Yes, I will screen share for you, Keith, sheet 1.
And Keith, also, could you please identify yourself and tell us where you're from?
Oh, sure. Sorry about that. I'm Keith Nielsen with DACO Incorporated, Mystic, and we're a firm that specializes in shoreline facilities, waterfront civil engineering, piers, docks, wharves, bulkheads, and in this case, seawall and property restoration as
Thanks.
well.
Great, thanks.
Thank you. So sheet 1 of the application drawing shows the existing conditions, including a location map in the upper right-hand corner a site plan which outlines the existing topography of the site, the location of the house, and the characteristics of the beachfront, which in this case are, it is a sandy beach with no vegetation on the beach. There's no tidal wetlands. And we did not do a hydrographic survey since the extent of our project did not even reach out to the mean low water line. The tide lines are indicated on the plan. Mean high water line being the waterward property line, and then the high tide line and coastal jurisdiction line being the darkest of the tide lines, since that is the jurisdictional limit of the DEP. All of this project is landward of the DEP's regulatory jurisdiction. The work on the bank and for the wall are in their advisory coastal area management jurisdiction. And so they had the opportunity to write their assessment of the project, and that's what we reacted to. Along the bottom of sheet 1 is a landscaping table. We put that in on sheet 1 because I was afraid we were going to run out of room on sheet 2 for the details. At any rate, the information of the 200 plants that we're going to be planting on this small bank are listed in that table. Sheet 2 of the drawings shows the same plan view, but now with the restored bank, uniform gradient of 1.6 to 1, sloping down and coming into a stone wall and terrace along the beach. The wall will be built of semi-square cut stones. They will be placed by a long reach excavator from the top of the lawn. And they will be set on a prepared foundation consisting of steel sheet piling face, which will be below the beach elevation, and then a concrete footing behind it, so that we can be sure that the stone will not sink into the sand. And if sand is lost off the beach, the structure will not be undermined. We also showed the transitions into the neighboring properties at the south, which is the bottom end of the wall where Ms. Mannix is pointing right now, and a removable, hoistable stairway to the beach in that southwesterly corner as well. And then the same sort of transition with rock to the neighbor to the east, and their wood bulkhead. The DEP agreed with this alignment. The DEP agreed with the height of the wall being at 14 feet NAVD, and they agreed with the use of the reinforced slope, heavily landscaped between the lawn and the terrace. And so they wrote a follow-up letter for the project indicating their that this was acceptable and consistent with state standards. And so we believe that we have accomplished a prudent and necessary balance between this shoreline restoration and DEP's policies to preserve resources and maintain access to the beach. And the details that we have on sheet 2, I hope are self-explanatory. If there are any questions, I would be happy to answer them at this time.
Could you, may I, Madam Chairman?
Yes, please, John.
Keith, could you please give us a quick rundown of the current condition of the seawall? Is there a seawall?
Well, there is what we would call a wood bulkhead.
Okay.
Evidently, after Hurricane Irene, the owners of the property, the previous owners of the property, put in some auger set, some 8x8 posts. They could have been pressure treated piles as well. They look a little rough to be posts, but they sunk these posts into augered holes and then put planking between the washed out bank, which was evidently pretty substantially damaged, and use that as their temporary holdback for the bank. After Hurricane Sandy, that wall was damaged and they added more wood to it. And so the photographs that you see, especially the lower one, show the existing wood plank bulkhead, and they show the piles sticking up behind it. They also show what the bulkhead did not do, especially the bottom photograph. Up at the top, you can see that there's a vertical drop of 3 feet from the edge of the lawn to the current semi-stable bank. You can also see that the vegetation that has been growing there all during last summer is dead or substantially emaciated, and it is not doing anything to hold the bank in place at this time. And so those are two of the conditions that we're going to be rectifying. You can also see by these two photographs that the backfill material, the bank, the bluff, is basically made of glacial terminal moraine, which is a sorting of sand and gravel, meaning pebbles and rock. But you can see that all of this rock is roundish. It is clearly glacial rock, and it doesn't have the same binding power as a consolidated bank run gravel or crushed stone material, and so this is still susceptible to rapid and substantial erosion. The stable slope for material like this is about 1 feet horizontal to 1 foot vertical. And if this bank were to erode to those extents, it would go right to the house. And so that's what we're trying to avoid in this project. And I hope that answered your question.
Yes, thank you. It does. And how about the new vegetation that you're planning to plant? Is it suitable for the conditions?
It is suitable. It is been proven on projects that we've done over the last 30 years. It includes little blue stem, big blue stem, and let's see. It's got gray owl juniper. We've got a line of gray owl juniper at the top of the bank because of its very tough nature. All of these are salt tolerant, drought resistant, and good materials for exposure to salt. Then we've got the Carolina rose and northern bayberry, the northern bayberry and the big blue stem. Some of the larger plants will be down toward the bottom of the vegetated bank, and the smaller plants that won't be interfering with the vista from the house and from the property will be up toward the top of the bank. And all of this grows, all of these plants have massive root systems that usually equal to the size of the plant. So they're perfect for this kind of usage.
Erin, do you want to pull up that list or I think there were photographs of the plants too.
Yes, there were in our
Yes.
resubmission.
What sheet did you have those on, Keith?
They were in the resubmission that we sent to
See
you.
if it's in the supplemental. It may be. I have the detail of your slope, which shows them, but it's not the list. Hold on a second.
So it's on. I don't know if you can see this, and this is black and white, so it really doesn't do
Oh, I
justice to the plants, but they're toward the back of our submittal of February 11th.
This is your list, right?
Yep, that's the planting table.
John, do you need
Do
more
you-
information or is this good?
You're muted.
Yeah, I think you're muted, John.
No, thank you very much.
Okay, great. Are there any other questions or comments? I don't know if everyone had a chance to read the full documentation and the file, but I think you've done a great job at revising what the initial plan was and responding to the recommendations of DEEP. So I think it looks great. And I think the planting is a huge improvement over what was going to be just kind of a massive stone structure, it looked like. I think you've even inspired neighbors maybe to re-landscape in accordance with the plan that you've done. It looks good, in my opinion, as someone who kayaks by there every summer. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
So if there are no other questions or comments, I think we could make a motion, perhaps. And Aaron, thank you for providing us with a recommendation of a resolution.
Sure.
I wonder if we could have a motion or if someone would like to read that. John, if you unmute yourself, you're very good at it.
I'll be happy to. So move that the application for coastal site plan review, 2130 at 109 Hartford Avenue, map 12, lot 79, to restore the existing deteriorated shoreline, stabilizing a retaining wall as shown on a revised set of plans by DOTCO Incorporated, dated February 16th, 2022, with the following conditions. Number one, that the applicant contact the zoning enforcement officer prior to the start of any construction activities. And number two, that all erosion and sedimentation control measures be installed prior to any site work and be maintained for the duration of the project.
And could we have a second?
Second.
Okay.
All in favor to approve as read and written? Any opposed? So it passes unanimously. Great, thank you.
Thank you all. I appreciate it. Thank you.
So this application is approved with a finding that it's consistent with coastal use and resource policies of the state of Connecticut. Effective date of this approval is March 18th, 2022. Thank you, Keith.
Thank you. And I'd just like to say one other thing, how helpful and professional Aaron Mannix was in working with us through this process. And
Standing in the rain
Right.
during a site inspection. Thank you, Keith.
thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
good evening. Good
Take
night.
care.
Note in your file, absolutely.
I'll take what I can get.
Yeah, well, did the site visit in the rain. That was above and beyond the call of duty. And the effects are really evident. So, okay.
That was very helpful, actually, to have a site visit with DEEP come down. That was useful. and it was
Yeah, it's
great
an
that they
unusual
provided that resource
Yeah,
for us and for
an
the
unusual
commission.
site.
You
So,
know, one concern I might mention is the original application seemed to have got it so wrong,
Mm,
and DEEP only has advisory capacities here, but they weighed in,
Sure.
and I'm glad they did. But I mean, it just shows we have to really pay attention, because if the engineer said he's an expert in doing this, and it just was totally unacceptable. So we can't rely on the engineers walking in and saying, oh, this is what to do. We need, and if we don't have DEEP as an expertise, who do we have? I mean, Aaron, you're not an expert in coastal buffers and whatnot. I don't know.
Well, I think that the overall intent is to have a living shoreline as opposed to an armored shoreline. And that was the major, and as Keith had indicated, he had designed the wall to last forever and not necessarily.
As a fortress.
Which is a
So,
long time, by the
he
way.
had engineering in mind and not necessarily the coastal act.
And environmental issues.
where-
Yeah.
Right. And so a shoreline flood and erosion control structure is a mandatory referral to DEEP anyways. So yeah, so their comments are useful, and the commission can always refer applications, whether, that is one of the only mandatory referrals to DEEP. However, they're a great resource for coastal impacts. Sure.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is 22-03 1362 Boston Post Road, map 31, lot 38. Owner is Town of Madison, and do we have Austin Hall here?
Hi, Austin, you're
Okay.
muted.
Sorry, yes, I'm here. Yep.
And Robert Cookta and Fran Brady. So if you all could maybe introduce yourselves if you're speaking and share with us updates.
So I'm Austin Hall, I'm the Director of Beach Recreation and Senior Services for the town. And joining us are two members of the Mad for Trees group, Bob Cookta and Fran Brady. So, this all started with wanting to get some landscaping done at Salt Meadow. And it just so happened that during that same time, Mad for Trees came to fruition, and they've approached us with a partnership to allow us to go forward with a landscaping plan at the park that will both beautify the park and provide needed shade and delineation of parking areas as well. Aaron, do you want me to share, or you want to?
Either way, I have it up also if you need it.
If you have it, that'd be great. Thank you.
Sure. I could zoom in if you'd like. Do you want to talk about the existing plan?
Yeah, so right in the middle there, you'll see that was the original plan from 2013, I believe. So you'll see, just to orient you, this is on the top, that's Route 1 going across sort of the right-hand corner. And as you drive into the park, there are two islands which separate the parking areas. So to the left of those islands is the playing fields. To the right is an open field. So there was a landscape plan that was developed to be instituted back in 2013 that never happened. So now, thanks to the Mad for Trees group, we have a new plan that we think will be great for the park. And you'll see that 18 out of the 42 trees that we are proposing to plant in the islands are the same types of trees that were in the original plan. And this outlay of trees offers greater diversity, as it says, of tree species and better resilience in the atmosphere that is Salt Meadow Park. So you see we have pitch pine, tulip trees, oaks, river birch, red maples. And I would like to allow Bob Cookta, who is our former tree warden in town and tree expert, he can explain to you why the layout is what it is and why those trees were chosen.
Okay, hear me okay?
Yep.
So I looked at the original plan that was done 2010 or 12, something like that, by Ann Penniman. And her approach to the design was more of a Cape Cod style, oaks and pitch pine. And so when I went to our supplier, Summerhill Nursery, we looked at the sizes of the trees that were specified in the original plan, and they were large, bald and burlapped oaks and pitch pine. And Mike Johnson said they would be very, very difficult to obtain. They particularly did not grow them at this point. So we began to ask Mike Johnson to grow some oaks for us, but it'll take several years for them to get to a size to plant in the parking area. But he did have other species that are native. Our focus is on native trees, native to Madison itself. And so the approach was to look at the coastal forest that's also part of the park a little bit farther south, and to give greater diversity to the trees that we're planting. If we had just oak, we've had years when we've had drought and the gypsy moth has decimated, scads of trees in groups. And because there were so many oaks with a higher density, we thought that would be a problem. If we had a bad few years, we'd have strip trees and we'd only have pitch pines left. So if, from an ecological standpoint, if there's a diversity, if one species gets attacked, some of the other trees will be able to respond and grow and fill in and provide a canopy of shade for the parking lot. At this point, there's only little blue stem grass in there, which I think gets mowed about once a year, and it's quite sandy soil. It can get very warm in there, in the summertime. And the town is working on a dog park as well. So the plan is to also include trees that'll shade the dog park once that is established and approved and the fence line laid out. So our approach has been to go to the Salt Meadow Advisory Committee. We discussed the changes. We tried to keep a bit of the original plan, but because it was being modified, it required the process. So we went through Salt Meadow Committee. We recently went to ACA and talked with their commission, and they're happy with the choices. John Cunningham and I have been designers for many, many years together. So we had a good conversation about what would work. He had some concerns that there were too many trees, and my original design was keeping with the numbers that was approved by the town originally. So it's sort of a balance between diversity, and we may end up planting less trees than is on the plan. If there are less trees, it'll take a longer time for the canopy to develop. So we're going to space them out, space the trees appropriately, and provide some color and some diversity for sure. They're all going to come from the Summerhill Nursery, and we are supporting our local business. We're planning to get the trees in April and plant these with volunteers. So the sizes of the trees, they'll all be container grown, and individuals will actually work in teams, will be able to pick them up without using a backhoe and that kind of stuff. So it'll be a community effort, and it's the first one of our projects for a 5-year program. And if this works out well, we'll get publicity and get more people involved in the projects. I think Fran was want to chip in some.
Yeah, I just wanted to do a little bit of marketing. This is part of that 5-year plan, and I'm glad to see Peter Roos is there. This is totally being funded for free by the generous donations of Madison residents, and it's through the charitable Madison Foundation. So we're looking at purchasing those trees from Cedar Hill locally and then planting them on Earth Day. Well, the day after Earth Day, I should say, on Saturday. So this is, as Bob said, our first big major project.
Great. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I love the idea of planting trees anywhere we can. Just thinking about that location, and it seems like we're having an increased frequency of, storms that have a lot of wind, hurricanes coming close, and just wondering about the size of these trees and will they be potentially susceptible to being knocked over in a big windstorm, what the liability for the town might be if that happens in a parking lot. Just wondering what those ramifications might be.
Okay. Most of the trees are going to be 3 gallon, 5 gallons, 7 gallon size is the largest tree that we're going to plant. And I've been planting at Hammonasset for about the last 4 years using smaller size containers. And they've gone through several of the storms in the last 2 or 3 years, even the droughts. And it seems in my experience that the smaller trees are able to adapt their root systems more quickly than the balled and burlap trees, which, they're severed and the ratio of stem and above ground material is so much higher than the roots can support that I've found a better suitability for small trees that are starting out 3 to 5 feet tall instead of 15 or 12 feet. The trees that are out at the park now, which were planted some years ago, I noticed that the first 2 sugar maples are already dead. And towards the picnic area, 7 pin oak trees were planted and 5 of them are looking stressed from drought. And my thought was that they were not watered adequately enough because they were balled and burlapped. There is irrigation at the park, but it's for the playing fields and not necessarily for the tree species. So there may have been less than effective watering in the initial years. We're also planning, we've talked with Austin about putting, it's called a tree diaper. There's a technical commercial name for it, but it holds moisture and lets it ooze out over time so that it has enough water, to keep it alive. I think the first 2 years are going to be critical in watering, but the town has said that we can get a water spigot connected so that we can water the trees, on a regular basis.
Shauna, were you also thinking down like 20 years from now or more when the trees are full height mature? Yeah. So
Yeah, I was also just wondering how big they would get and whether they would be right.
Well, the soils there are quite sandy. Before the park was developed, Mike Ott asked me to do a soil test with a shovel to see, there was about 1.5 inches of topsoil. So these trees, if they're fertilized, they'll grow. But if they're planted in just the soils that are there, they're going to grow very slowly and adapt to the wind that is there. I've been planting red maples in Hammonasset within, say, 500 feet of the beach. And yes, there will be some flagging, the growth away from the wind, but their root systems will, I've done it without staking the trees, and that actually allows a tree to respond better than a staked tree. It doesn't like the wind, so it's going to grow its roots to anchor it. We're planting in the parking lot, and it's going to be a bit away from the tidal marsh, so it's really pretty close to the road. So there is some sheltering from Dudd's Village, and it's away from the river itself. So I don't think flooding, unless we get a hurricane, will be a major consequence there.
Thank you.
I have a question actually. will there, because it's Mad for Trees and this is a great project, will there be some kind of signage and or credit given? I don't know, Austin, have you guys?
Yeah, so we haven't discussed that yet, but of course,
Yeah.
we would want to give credit to the group who's sponsoring the planting and the activity. So we will work something out with Fran and Bob to make that a
And
reality.
Well, the source will be there on Saturday when we do the planning. We'll have
Good.
coverage there. And I didn't mention that this is part of the 200th anniversary of Madison, which is 2026. So this is, we need to plant, what, 50, how many trees? 50 trees a year? 50 trees a year.
I just had one comment also. I see, Ron, do you have your hand raised also?
Right. Go on,
Go ahead.
comment.
I'll go after you.
I didn't catch who Fran Brady is. What it says his position with the city or the town?
I'm the founder of Mad for Trees. I'm the former chairman. I was the former chairman of the Conservation Commission with Heather.
Okay, good. Sorry. So there's a new structure, Austin, that's been built at Salt Meadow. What is that?
That's the pavilion.
Okay. I was on the Salt Meadow board 3 and 4 years ago, and we voted to put in a restroom. The town appropriated the money. The design was made. My understanding is it was being, for some reason, built in Texas. Why has the restroom never been built at Salt Meadow, and is it planned to be?
Is that your name?
It is planned to be, and that'll be coming in front of you in the next couple of months.
Couple of months, so it's.
Yep.
So you're promoting putting in shaded parking lots and dog parks and whatever. We are finally going to get a restroom in the park to make it a park,
Yes, sir.
and it'll be in by this summer.
So it depends on how the approval process goes and
Well,
how.
hold on. Who needs to approve it? The board approved it 4 years ago. The funds were made, the design. Who now needs to finally approve a restroom in a park?
Planning and Zoning Commission, Ron, will need to approve that as it's a site plan modification to the originally approved. It was a
Okay.
one building concession slash storage slash restroom facility. And Austin came before the commission about a month and a half ago, I guess, 2 months ago, to seek approval for the pavilion, the standalone pavilion.
Yeah, but when are you coming before the P and Z for the restroom facilities?
So the Salt Meadow Committee just approved it on Monday. Because it's a new facility. It's not the big facility that you all approved many years ago. This is a standalone bathroom that's different. Like Aaron says, it's a site plan modification. So it has to go through the process of ACA, Planning and Zoning Commission. And then once you all approve it, it gets ordered. It's about 3 months out once we order it, and then it'll be installed.
Are we still ordering it from Texas?
We're ordering it from where it gets ordered from.
All right. So by standalone, I'm asking because the priorities do seem to be odd that we can't get a restroom in a park. When you say downsized, is this like one walk-in door that people will knock on to see if they can get in, or is it 2 bathrooms, or is it handicapped as originally designed? What is this?
So this is not on the agenda for tonight. I don't feel
I
comfortable
know.
discussing that. So I think we could
I'm
discuss that
asking,
at a
I
future
know it
meeting.
seems irrelevant, but yeah, I don't feel like supporting trees for cars if we're 4 years delayed getting the basic essentials for the park, like a restroom. So that's why I'm asking. If the restroom's not on the table, then I will vote against even the trees tonight. So that's why I'm
Trees
asking.
are free. The trees are free.
Right, so I
Really?
just said that,
That's nice. I'm glad you want
if
to
you go
shade
back
the
and-
cars, but don't want to have a restroom for the kids, but go on.
Ron.
So you
Ron,
can go
it's
back
my
and read
unders-
the Salt Meadow Committee meeting minutes from Monday, and you'll see that they approved the location
Okay,
for the restroom. And as I just said a minute ago, I will be coming in front of this commission in the next, month or so to get you all to approve that. So
Great.
it is on. I've been the director of recreation for a year now, and you could see all of the progress we've made at the park in that year. So I think you can be rest assured that that will take place.
excellent, thank you.
John Mathers?
Yes, thank you. I'm just curious, I was going to ask about irrigation and you mentioned watering. And I know, having had limited success growing trees myself, how important watering can be for these trees, especially in these challenged soil conditions. So is that something that Mad for Trees, is that a responsibility that they're taking, the ongoing maintenance of the trees as they get established?
So the irrigation line runs right through the islands. And so as buildings and grounds is also under my department, they went out last week and determined that we can put a spigot right in the middle of them. So there'll be hoses that Mad for Trees, the Salt Meadow Park Committee, and other volunteers will be able to water the trees as needed.
How about a drip irrigation system, since the water's right there? Is that feasible?
It's possible. We do have volunteers lined up to do it. So to run it more as a community project, that was sort of the point to do that.
Okay, great.
Austin,
John,
my
maybe-
only
I'm
other
sorry.
thought. Oh, excuse me, Fran.
I'm sorry, John, maybe to answer that further.
Yeah.
We hopefully we're busy planting trees everywhere. And my first suggestion would be that the town should be responsible for watering. But in lieu of the town not having the resources or the time, we are stepping up the volunteer. So that's, we're waiting to see how that all plays out. But we will be the volunteers of last choice to make sure that these trees grow. And particularly in the first 2 years. After that, they should be, as Bob will say, that, they'll be hardy enough to take care of themselves.
And, Austin, my only last comment was, I know you mentioned the water line going through the islands, but I just wanted to also recommend having somebody mark out all of the buried lines since before digging, as there's a gas line that goes through there as well, and other utilities. Just friendly
That's
reminder.
important for sure.
And I don't know, Madam Chairman, I do see that Noreen Cocarudo has her hand raised as a question. I know it's not a public hearing, but I just wanted to see if you would be agreeable that we let Noreen is the liaison from the Planning and Zoning to the Planning and Zoning Commission from the Board of Selectmen.
Happy to hear from Noreen.
Hi, Noreen.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Ken.
Hello, I'm looking forward to attending your meetings. The last few I've had conflicts, but looking forward to working with you. I just have two questions. If any of you have ever been at Salt Meadow during some of these sporting events, the number of parking spots has been a problem. So my only question, and I know Fran and Bob do a great job, but are we losing any parking spots? Are we gaining them? And then also, since this is a parking lot that children are running through, will visibility be an issue at all? And it's something we should be concerned with. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Noreen.
Thanks, Noreen. We are not losing any parking spots at all. And these are the islands that delineate the actual parking spots. So people, should not be running through the parking lot as it is a parking lot. So that it should not be a problem that I foresee.
And Austin, the walkways that are currently the paths that are through the islands, those will remain?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Can we,
I'll just make a comment based on Maureen's comment. I like to walk my dog at Salt Meadow Park, but I tend to avoid when there's sporting events going on. So I've not really been there when there's a big sporting event going on. So this is the first time I've heard a comment about the limited, not or insufficient parking. So I wonder if that's an issue that should be addressed by the park committee. I just throw that out there. I know it's not pertinent to this discussion, but.
Well, John, what they do is they take the green area between the village and the highway and open it up for parking, and they put in parking stalls that
Yeah,
allow another 100 or so cars in. So it is and then what happens is everyone parks across the street at Cohen's Bagel and up and down, whatever. So
well,
it's, you have
I saw
never,
you standing out there with a flag one day saying $10 this way, pointing at your house.
but yeah, it's a parking nightmare when they have the big recreational, but the town does the best they can to cope with it, but it can't be coped with because there's just more people in cars than can be accommodated.
Once a year, we host the mist soccer tournament. And that is the time of year when we open up that lot that parallels Route 1. So it's a 2-day event. And really that's typically the only time when parking is rolled over into that area.
But it's not the only time of year when there's a parking problem, because when that's not open, there's a lot of recreational soccer going on. And if there's not enough parking, then it moves across the street or wherever it can go.
okay, are we ready to vote on the site plan modification and landscaping? Could I have a motion? And
I will read what Aaron has kindly proposed here.
thank you, Peter.
Motion to approve application 22-03-1362 Boston Post Road, map 31, lot 38/1, R2 district, owner applicant Town of Madison. Site plan modification for Salt Meadow Park Tree landscape plan is shown in application materials dated February 1st, 2022.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, John. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ron, you're abstaining?
I'm staying, yeah. Wait
Okay,
to see.
okay. Thank you, gentlemen, and thank you for waiting for the other applicant to go ahead of you.
Well, we hope to see you on April
On Earth
20.
Day.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's exciting.
we can
Thank
all
you.
lend a hand. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
All right, so Aaron, correct me if I'm missing anything here, but we have an extension granted to Railroad Avenue, 21-34, 14 Railroad Avenue until our March 17th hearing.
Correct. The applicant is returning, they had some feedback from ACA, which is our design committee, and they have addressed some of those concerns with a redesign and thought it best to return to the committee prior to continuing the public hearing. So that's what the additional 2 weeks is for.
Okay, thanks. And 22-04, 155 Overshores Drive West. Do we need to make a motion to table it, or has this?
No,
already
this
been
is
scheduled?
essentially, the commission received this application and it's been referred to DEEP for comments, as it is a shoreline flood and erosion control structure, another
Yeah,
one.
another one.
They actually did receive a COP from the state, so I don't anticipate any problems, but we're waiting to receive that formal letter from DEEP. And so they have 35 days to comment, so we just pushed our action out that 35 days.
Okay, good. It's interesting because it looks like that actually has a kind of concrete platform that goes out into the water.
That one is definitely within the state's jurisdiction.
Definitely, yeah.
Which is different than the last application was fully a local project. Yeah.
Mhm, mhm.
So they'll be prepared to come to the next meeting.
Thank you. And then 22-06 45 Wall Street is a new application. So that's scheduled for a public hearing on March 17th, correct? Okay,
Correct.
good. Then next on our agenda is correspondence regarding 131 Cottage Road, map 31, lot 25. A request for a 5-year extension to complete their site plan. Do we vote on this, or is this first discuss anything if there are any questions? Or Peter,
Yes.
yeah, do you have
Well,
comments?
I just need to recuse myself on this because the applicant is owned 60% by Caleb Group in Massachusetts and 40% by the Hope Partnership, and I'm on the Hope Partnership board.
Okay, thank you.
And Elizabeth Torres is here, Madam Chair, to explain the request and answer any questions you might have.
Hi, Elizabeth, can you identify yourself and give us a little more information? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, my name is Liz Torres. I'm a housing development consultant working with Hope Partnership and the Caleb Foundation. The partnership acquired this parcel a couple years back now and has plans to develop 31 housing units on the site. We recently submitted a financing application to the Connecticut Housing Finance Authority for tax credits that we will need to construct the development. As a result of their underwriting and review, they actually flagged that, hey, you might want to get an extension on your zoning approval. And so to be honest, it was a surprise to us. And we reached out to Erin and said, oh my goodness, you know, we're going to need this approval if we're going to be successful in securing our funding. And she quickly turned around and supported us by getting us on the agenda tonight. I don't know if there are any questions about the project specifics.
I have a question. Elizabeth, I was on the commission several years ago when the project was approved, and I think it's a great project. I'm just I question why an extension of 5 years is necessary. That seems like an awfully long time.
It's a great question. I mean, to be honest, if it takes us that long, you know, that would be horrible. That's not our expectation. I think, Erin, I think the statute allows for up to 5 years, and so we just said let's take advantage of this. You know, the regulations there. If all goes as expected, we will secure our funding to construct the buildings. I would say by the summertime, and we'll likely be able to start construction the first quarter of 2023. And we only expect to have a 12-month construction schedule. So we don't expect it to take 5 years.
Okay. I've been waiting a long time to see progress out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be great to see it move forward.
I know. We're working on it. Peter's holding our feet to the fire. So we're going to keep plugging away and trying to make progress on that project for sure.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Aaron, Ron, what I would worry about if we only gave them 2 years, they might not be able to ever come back for another extension because they only may be able to come back once. So I think why not do 5 years so they're not hemmed in. They're right around the corner from where I live, so we're anxious to see it start building and get it done too. But I don't know the answer that if they ask for one extension that's shorter than 5, can they ever come back or not?
They could. It's up to 5 years. I think this is a simpler process just to return once to the commission. However, that is at your discretion.
Well, I'm encouraged to hear that the plan is not to wait 5 years or to sell the development to someone else, but that you have plans to get started within a year and be completed within, sounds like, 2 years.
Correct.
There are no other questions or comments. Could we have a motion? And I think we're leaning toward approving the extension.
I move to grant a 5-year extension.
Second,
I second.
thank you. All in favor? Aye. Okay, so congratulations, and we look
Thank you
forward to
very
seeing
much.
progress. Thank you for
Thank you so
coming.
much for your support.
Liz?
Thank you, Liz.
Okay, since Elliot's not here, should we approve the minutes at our next meeting, or does it matter?
If you have a quorum, you can.
Has
do-
everyone had a chance to read them and check them? This is from the February 3rd, 2022 meeting.
Well, did anyone notice that there's minutes from 2017? What are we doing with those?
Oh, those are related to the development. Let's see, which one is it, Aaron?
That
Was
those-
the
that was what we just
Cottage
did.
Road. Yeah, that was the
That's
Cottage
the
Road
one
because it was when it was first approved, and then it was another set of minutes related to that. So you had to scroll down and find the Cottage Road.
I see.
It was for reference, I guess, for today's
That's
discussion.
right.
Oh,
Exactly.
Just
Yeah,
in
exactly.
case anyone wasn't familiar with the particular project.
I think,
I thought we were approving minutes 5
Yeah.
years.
John, I think you
We're
were the
just
only one
behind.
who was
John
there.
Mathers was the only one around.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I think Giselle was around, wasn't she? I thought
Giselle,
Giselle
were
was
you
on
there
that.
for 2017?
I think she was. She was there for 19 anyway.
The 19, yeah. So you were familiar with the project somewhat.
Actually, I really appreciated you giving us those minutes. I mean, I know it wasn't so relevant to this one, but it was really helpful to have them to refer
That was
to.
Carol's suggestion.
Thank you.
Carol,
Thank you,
take that
Carol.
I
credit.
was, as the new
I greatly
as a newbie,
appreciated it.
I was completely unfamiliar with this project, and there have been changes in the numbers of affordable units, I think, and it's all good. So I was happy to read through them too.
Yeah.
Thank you, Erin.
Sure.
Okay, well then, does anyone have any comments about the minutes? Actually, I want to say one thing, and it's both an apology and it's in the minutes, but I was made aware that in my eagerness to try to keep our meetings moving forward, I neglected on a couple of occasions at that meeting to call for a vote after we had a motion and a second. I just kind of plowed right ahead. So that is evident in the minutes. And I also want to say that if any of you notice that that's happening, please speak up. And I'm appreciative of any kind of helpful assistance with just even running a meeting. So otherwise, though, the minutes looked good to me. I don't know if anyone else has any comments or changes that need to be made. Can we have a motion then to approve them?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Peter. Second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Shawna. Meetings, the minutes. Oh, all here. I almost did it. All in favor of approving the minutes.
Aye.
Aye, good, thank you. Under remarks, I guess, Erin, I just wanted to say that I think for some of us, the agenda can still be a little bit confusing. If you don't mind getting questions from us, fielded from us after we receive the agendas, that's fine. And it's very helpful to get your feedback of why they're structured the way they are and what changes are being made that we may not be aware of.
Okay. If you have a suggestion, I'm I'm open to hear it. I think the goal of keeping the pending applications on is just to keep the commission and the public aware of ongoing applications, whether they're being heard at this particular meeting or an upcoming meeting. Sometimes it's challenging to see an application on an agenda and then it disappears for a while until it pops back up again.
Uh-huh,
So
yeah.
we try to put the specifics in parentheses, at least as far as the evening's actions, if that's helpful. But if you have
That
other,
is very helpful, yeah.
if you have other feedback, we're
And it
happy
is good to have a chance to
entertain.
look at the application documents ahead of time and not, crunch the hour before the meeting, but
I'm
yeah, I
looking
think-
into doing some other way of having the material documents available, whether it's some type of a Dropbox system or another link on our website that's not necessarily tied to the agenda, where pending applications are more visible. Because it's challenging if an agenda has not yet been posted. You'd have to go back to a previous meeting to find documents. So that is something I agree is not ideal, but I'd like to find a way around that. I'll work with IT on that.
Okay, thanks. Any other comments or?
I was glad, it took me a while to pick up on the comments in parentheses, which provided me with great relief, because I used to look at these agendas and think, oh my gosh, I better schedule a business trip and be out of town for this one. Realized the agendas are not quite as long as they appeared if one looked at the notes. So thank you for that.
Sure.
Though St. Patrick's Day may be longer than you think.
Yes, your next meeting will be
They
longer.
are kind of piling up, but things can change between now and then.
Yeah. And Erin, I agree. I think that as I'm learning what the things in the parentheses mean, hopefully I will ask you fewer questions, but if you don't mind, because I just want to make sure I'm preparing for the right applications, and I can't clutter my brain with too many things. If I try to read through everything, I will forget what the important things actually are. So if you don't mind me asking occasionally.
Not at all. Not at all.
Isn't the 17th a holiday?
Oh, you
what
have
I
to wear
thought.
green.
I think I will be out of town on the 7th. Literally, I don't think I'm going to actually be around. I think I will be out of the country actually on the 17th. So unfortunately,
We won't ask which country you'll be in.
I will be in Rome. No, not Ireland. I will be in Rome actually.
Wow, that sounds good.
I don't think they celebrate St. Patrick's Day in Rome, but I guess.
No, you're spared, I think. Erin, did you have any other remarks or comments or anything?
No,
for the
I don't.
meeting? Thank you. Thank you for all your help. Could we have a motion to adjourn the meeting then, please? John, thank you. Second?
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Night all.
Thank you. Good night.
Good evening.
Good evening.